Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Ashmit Kumar and here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. Days after launching its weight loss drug in the country, Eli Lilly CEO David Ricks tells CNBC TV 18 that the company is open to manufacturing Mounjaro in India, says that the company is in talks about localizing supply chains, adding that it is building clinical evidence on the medicine's effect in treating sleep apnea, fatty liver disease and other hedonistic desires. That's an exclusive. After much delay, GE Aerospace begins delivery of the first of 99 engines for the Tejas light combat aircraft Mk1A to Hindustan Aeronautics. The delays have affected HAL's deliveries of 83 Tejas jets to the Indian Air Force, prompting several complaints from the Air Chief Marshal. The government formally inks contracts worth 6,900 crore rupees with Bharat Forge and Tata Advanced Systems to procure advanced indigenous Howitzers and gun-towing vehicles. Bharat Forge will account for 60% of the order book, deliveries to be completed within 5 years. Larsen & Toubro wins a 15,000 crore rupee contract from Qatar Energy LNG. This is infra giant's largest single contract till date. It includes designing and setting up 2 large offshore compression complexes off the northeast coast of Qatar. The bulls take a breather after a 7-day rally as investors await clarity on upcoming US tariffs. Sensex and Nifty fall nearly 1% each as real estate and energy stocks tumble. The rupee shakes off early weakness to end marginally stronger on the back of banks buying dollars on behalf of exporters. Finance Ministry's monthly economic review highlights that Indian retail investors are unfazed by the market decline and continue to repose faith in its long-term potential. The review document adds that stellar performance of Indian equity markets in previous 4 years led to profit booking, leading to FPIs trimming their allocations in Indian equities. US President Donald Trump continues to keep the world guessing about how the US will impose reciprocal tariffs starting the 2nd of April. Tells American media that he wants to limit exceptions to this proposed tariff, adds that he may be more lenient than reciprocal. In a major breakthrough to the 3-year-long war between Russia and Ukraine, both countries agreed to stop attacking each other's energy infrastructure. White House says the two have also separately agreed to pause military action against ships in the Black Sea. Deal to also prevent commercial vessels from being used for military purposes by either side. Supreme Court takes suo motu cognizance and stays an Allahabad High Court order which had observed that acts like grabbing breasts or breaking the string of pajamas do not constitute an attempt to rape, terms it as inhumane and insensitive, expresses shock that the order was passed not in the spur of the moment, but after application of mind. Former ED chief Sanjay Mishra appointed as a full-time member of PM Modi's Economic Advisory Council. Mishra had to step down as ED director in September of 2023 after the Supreme Court curtailed his extended tenures following petitions filed against the multiple extensions granted to him by the government. Well, the Wall Street failed to hold on to the opening gains. The Nifty and the Sensex snapped their 7-day winning streak to end nearly 1% lower. Weakness set in on concerns over just how the US would implement President Donald Trump's April 2nd tariff announcements. Now, 40 out of the 50 Nifty stocks ended lower, with energy and realty stocks losing the most ground. The broader markets, meanwhile, fell in line with the blue chips. The Finance Ministry's monthly economic review highlighted that Indian retail investors are unfazed by the market decline and continue to repose faith in its long-term potential. The review document also added that the stellar performance of the Indian equity markets in the previous 4 years led to profit booking, leading to FPIs trimming their allocations in Indian equities. Now, General Electric Aerospace has commenced the delivery of engines for the Tejas light combat aircraft to Hindustan Aeronautics. The engine manufacturer has announced the delivery of the first of 99 engines ordered by HAL after a 2-year delay. The delays have affected HAL's deliveries of 83 Tejas jets to the Indian Air Force. Shares of HAL gained in trade following this announcement. And meanwhile, the Indian government has formally signed a deal worth nearly 7,000 crore rupees with Bharat Forge and Tata Advanced Systems to procure made-in-India Howitzers and towing vehicles. The Defence Ministry has said that the pact aims to replace the older and smaller caliber guns. Bharat Forge will account for 60% of the order book. And staying with the defence sector, Bharat Dynamics has secured a defence contract worth over 4,300 crore rupees for armament supply. However, details of the entire contract has not been released yet. Shares of the company rose 3% in trade on the back of this development. And meanwhile, Larsen & Toubro has won its largest single contract to date. While the company has not disclosed the exact size of the deal, it has classified the contract from Qatar Energy LNG as an ultra-mega order. This classification indicates that the order value exceeds 15,000 crore rupees. The project includes designing and setting up 2 large offshore compression complexes. And Honeywell Aerospace is also betting on the defense opportunity in India. CEO Jim Courier believes that India has the potential to shift from a primary importer to a net exporter of advanced defense technology. In a conversation with CNBC TV 18 Shireen Bhan yesterday, Courier also said that a lot of what the company is innovating in India can be applied to both commercial and military aircraft.
India, historically speaking, has been more of a net importer of defense, right? Yes. So as that indigenous capability builds, as the needs of the Indian government and defense needs are fulfilled, I anticipate a true opportunity to become a net exporter of some of this defense equipment. That is the
aspiration.
I believe, and I think it's actually achievable ultimately. I mean, there's a lot of technology and innovation happening here within India that I think becomes then an element where in the future you can be a net exporter of some of this defense technology.
Well, the big newsmaker this evening, days after launching its diabetes and weight loss drug Mounjaro in India, Dave Ricks, the chair and CEO of Eli Lilly and Company, told CNBC TV 18 that they are open-minded about manufacturing the medicine in India. When asked about Mounjaro being held up as the silver bullet for a host of issues outside of just diabetes and obesity, Ricks said that they were building the clinical evidence on the medicine's effect in treating sleep apnea, fatty liver disease, and other hedonistic desires. Rick also shared details of the company's ambitious $50 billion global expansion plan aimed at boosting production capacity to meet the growing demand for weight management and diabetes medications.
We actually know a lot about the GLP-1 mechanism and its safety. No drug has no problems, but we know what they are. So I think patients and their doctors can talk about those risks. It's not like there's unknowns there. Consumer awareness, physician awareness, also important. Payment and support from health systems where that's appropriate. But as you mentioned, we need to make enough. And right now we've had shortages in the last year in major markets. Lilly's invested very aggressively, though, in our own supply chain. We're in the middle of a $50 billion expansion plan, and those are showing good returns. We're expanding our global footprint. There's a lot of discussion in the air about localizing or regionalizing supply chains, and as India could become an important market for us, it's a smaller market for us now, but Mounjaro may well change that. Open-minded about possibilities here.
What could tip you in favor of actually doing local manufacturing?
We do have local manufacturing for our insulin line, actually, which is very successful. So we need to talk to those partners. We need to understand what the demand in the market is. And we need to probably get comfortable with the regulatory environment and some other technical specifics, but certainly not ruling that out. Obviously, it's a very large opportunity. There are, the prevalence of diabetes is very high in this country, and that's a serious condition where we need good medicine for. Mounjaro is proven to be very effective in controlling diabetes and helping people lose a little weight with diabetes. And then for obesity, which is almost like a precondition to other very serious health problems, we're seeing really strong uptake in many markets where we've launched, and I would expect that here as well. Unfortunately, overweight and obesity is a reality in India.
But it's not seen as a disease.
Yeah, but it actually is, by WHO standards, classified as a disease. And even if you want to argue with that, it's totally clear that being obese leads to more diseases later, over 200 adult conditions. And some studies have shown almost 40% of adult disease is triggered by obesity. So it's important people manage their weight, hopefully with diet and exercise, but if they can't, now there's a medicine, Mounjaro, which can really have a profound effect on their body weight.
Well, you can catch the entire conversation with Eli Lilly CEO Dave Ricks on Global Dialogues at 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC TV 18. Well, here's a CNBC TV 18 exclusive. Zomato-backed fitness brand Cult.fit is learned to be getting ready to raise 2,500 crore rupees through an IPO. This would give it an estimated valuation of $2 billion. CNBC TV 18's Rachna Dhanrajani has the details. Rachna, tell us at what stage is this process and what's the company planning with the funds that it hopes to raise from the markets?
Sources have told CNBC TV 18 that Zomato-backed Cult.fit has picked bankers for its upcoming IPO. Access Capital, Jefferies, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley and GM Financial have been roped in as the book-running lead managers. The company is eyeing a 2,500 crore raise at a valuation of about $2 billion. Now, to put things in perspective, Zomato had infused about $100 million in 2021 in Cult.fit, giving it a valuation of about $1.56 billion. Now, Cult operates over 500 gyms across India and has been aggressively expanding its footprint. In just FY24, the company clocked a total income of around 1,000 crore. But it's not just fitness centers for Cult.fit anymore. Cult has diversified into multiple businesses like EatFit, MindFit, and Cult Sport, which constitutes about 30% of its total revenue. Speaking of EatFit, that alone contributes about 24.5% of the total revenue. Apart from Zomato, among key investors of Cult include Accel Partners that holds about 17.25% stake, but there are other key names also on its cap table like Tata Digital, Temasek, Kalari Capital and Chirite Ventures. With the IPO in the works, all eyes will be on Cult.fit.
Now, US President Donald Trump has hinted at not offering too many exceptions on reciprocal tariffs that are set to come into effect from the 2nd of April. Speaking to an American TV channel, he added that US had been very fair while imposing these tariffs and also said that he might implement copper tariffs within a few weeks, which is months before the initial deadline. This announcement drove up copper prices to all-time highs. Remember, only a day earlier, Trump told reporters at the White House that his administration may give a lot of countries breaks. And while Russia and Ukraine have agreed to pause attacks in the Black Sea and against energy targets in separate deals with the United States, Russia has said that the naval ceasefire would only come into force after sanctions against its food and fertilizer trade were lifted. Ukraine's President Zelensky has accused Russia of lying about the terms of this agreement. However, the Ukrainian leader maintained that this was the way towards peace.
The United States reached deals on Tuesday with Ukraine and Russia to pause attacks in the Black Sea and against energy facilities. The U.S. agreement with Russia goes further than the deal with Ukraine, as the Trump administration agreed to help seek the lifting of international sanctions on Russia, something Vladimir Putin has long sought. The separate agreements are the first formal commitments by the warring side since the inauguration of Donald Trump.
We are making a lot of progress.
The Kremlin said the Black Sea agreements would not come into effect unless links between some Russian banks and the international financial system were restored. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said this was untrue and that there was no requirement of sanctions relief for the deals to come into force. But Trump told reporters his team was considering the conditions Moscow laid out.
They will be looking at them, and we're thinking about all of them right now. There are about 5 or 6 conditions. We're looking at all of them.
Kyiv and Moscow both said they would rely on Washington to enforce the deals, while expressing skepticism that the other side would abide by them. Zelensky said the truce agreements would take effect immediately, and that if Russia violated them, he would ask Trump to impose additional sanctions on Moscow and provide more weapons for Ukraine. The Kremlin said the pause in attacks on energy would last for 30 days from March 18th, when Putin first discussed it with Trump. Ukraine had said last week that it would accept such a pause only after a formal agreement.
And staying with international news, Israeli forces have killed at least 38 people in Gaza in the last 24 hours. Israel's military has also continued bombing Syria, killing at least 6 people in the region. Not-profit organizations Save the Children said that more than 270 children have been killed in the week since Israel resumed attacking Gaza. Coming up on India Business Hour, Indian Airlines to add over 1,300 more weekly flights in summer schedule as travel demand surges. Details in just a bit. And you can also catch all CNBC TV 18's news and updates on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X and Jio Hotstar. You are watching India Business Hour. Now, Bharti Airtel and its subsidiary Bharti Hexacom have prepaid nearly 6,000 crore rupees to the telecom department. The telecom giant has now fully cleared their high-cost debt of 8.65% pertaining to the auctions of 2024. The prepayment was made approximately 7 years ahead of the average residual maturities. The company has now prepaid nearly 26,000 crore rupees of high-cost spectrum liabilities for the current fiscal year. And Maruti Suzuki's board has approved an investment of 7,400 crore rupees to set up a third plant at Kharkhoda in Haryana. The plant will have a capacity of 2.5 lakh vehicles per year. The investment will be funded through internal accruals. The auto major said that the plant will help meet the growth market in demand. In a historic first, Maruti Suzuki's board of directors has approved the appointment of an Indian employee as a whole-time director to the board. Sunil Kakkar, additional director and whole-time director corporate planning, has been appointed to the board. R.C. Bhargava, who's also a board member, is a government appointee. The board also comprises independent directors who are Indians, but that's a regulatory compliance requirement. And more from the auto space, TVS Motor, through its wholly owned Singapore subsidiary, has announced the acquisition of additional 8.26% stake in Go Corporation. With this transaction, TVS Motor's Singapore arm will increase its shareholding to 100%. This will make it a fully owned subsidiary of the company. And Wipro has secured a 10-year deal worth nearly $650 million from Phoenix Group's Reassure UK. As a part of this deal, Wipro will manage key business operations, including policy administration, claims processing. This is its second mega deal this financial year. And the Supreme Court has taken suo motu cognizance in State and Allahabad High Court order in a minor assault case. The High Court had observed that acts like grabbing of breasts and breaking the string of pajamas do not constitute an attempt to rape. The Apex Court condemned the ruling as insensitive and inhumane. And more from the courtrooms, the Supreme Court appointed 3-judge committee has concluded its preliminary questioning of Delhi High Court Judge Justice Yashwant Verma on the alleged cash pile found at his residence. The panel directed the Delhi police to secure the location and record a video of the storeroom where the cash was allegedly discovered. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court refused an urgent hearing of a plea seeking an FIR in the Yashwant Verma case. Former ED Chief Sanjay Kumar Mishra has been appointed as a full-time member of the Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister. He will hold the rank of a secretary. He was appointed as the chief of ED on the 19th of November 2018 for a tenure of 2 years. Before his appointment, Mishra was posted as Chief Commissioner of Income Tax in Delhi. Mishra had to step down as ED Director in September of 2023 after the Supreme Court curtailed his extended tenures following petitions filed against the multiple extensions granted to him by the government. Indian Airlines have added over 1,300 more weekly flights in the summer schedule 2025 as travel demand continues to surge. Air India Group is leading with 3,000 additional flights. Indigo has added 1,100. Akasa Air has added 190 flights, while SpiceJet has cut 417 flights in this year's summer schedule. Madhya Mujawar is here with more details on what this means for the aviation sector. Madhya.
Well, clearly air travel demand is seeing a sharp surge. As per the latest data, more than 140 lakh passengers flew in February 2025 versus over 126 lakh passengers who flew in February 2024. That's an 11% surge. So naturally, there has to be more supply to meet this demand. But airlines are constrained due to shortage of capacity and hence are struggling to catch up with the rising demand. So if you see the summer schedule, it is just over 5% more weekly flights than last summer. Airlines will fly 25,610 weekly flights this summer schedule versus 25,000 flights in the winter schedule and 24,275 flights in the last year's summer schedule. Airline-wise, Indigo, that has over 350 operational planes, remains the highest airline to fly over 14,000 weekly flights. Air India Group will be flying 7,685 flights per week. SpiceJet will fly 1,240 flights per week. Akasa Air will fly 1,080 flights, and among smaller players, Alliance Air plans to fly 520 flights, Star Air 505, Fly Big 176, Fly 91 123, and India One will fly 114 flights. Now let's see how many flights have these airlines added as compared to the previous seasons, which is the winter schedule and the summer schedule of last year. So Air India is leading with nearly 3,000 additional weekly flights versus last summer. Indigo has added 1,100, Akasa Air has added 186. SpiceJet, however, has curtailed its schedule by cancelling 417 flights as compared to last summer. Similarly, among smaller players, Star Air leads with 186 additional flights as compared to last summer. Fly 91, which started in March last year, grew from 20 flights last summer to 123 flights this summer. Alliance Air doesn't look in good shape. The airline has curtailed its flights by cancelling 376 flights as compared to last summer. Now remember, the flight schedule is also a key indicator of how the airline is performing and optimizing its assets. More flights means more passengers and more revenue. Likewise, lesser flights means less revenue. But overall, if there's supply, there's some hope for passengers if this could keep airfares in check.
Right, Madhya, thanks so much for that. Some hope there for passengers. But speaking of air travel, a parliamentary panel has recommended the introduction of an airfare monitoring system. The system will employ artificial intelligence to flag instances of excessive pricing. The panel also suggested the creation of a mobile application called Airfare Vigil to address flyers' concerns. The application will allow citizens to report instances of arbitrary airfare pricing. Anonymous submissions will be allowed to encourage participation. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you so much for watching. News and updates will continue right here on CNBC TV 18.